Christopher Nolan retells a story within a story, and that's the trick. He does it with two characters that look like opposites on the surface, but don't be fooled. Those characters are Antinous and Odysseus. I actually found 7 deep connections between Antinous and Odysseus that will make you appreciate how deliberate Christopher Nolan is and reveals the real warning at the heart of this movie. Here's what most people miss. Antinous isn't just a rival for Penelope's hand, he is Odysseus, if the lesson never lands. Nolan doesn't announce this, he buries this within the story. To understand why this connection matters in the first place, we have to understand the main lesson of this film. At its core, the Odyssey is a warning, and the lesson is don't bend the law of the gods to serve your own ambition. And believe it or not, that's a hard pitch to sell in 2026. We've spent 2 decades of pop culture teaching us that gods are just obstacles, tyrants to outsmart, rules made to be broken so the real hero can seize his own destiny.
I make my own destiny.
Nolan refuses that formula for this movie. In his hands, the gods aren't the antagonists. They're the terms and conditions nobody bothers to read about. This movie reveres the gods and their law, and the main law is the law of hospitality. These laws are like the gravity that holds the structure of trust between societies together. But once that basic trust is broken and manipulated, it can cause chaos. And this is Odysseus' greatest fear. So we know the story, right? Odysseus uses a sacrifice to Athena, a gesture even the Trojans recognize as sacred, a shared language of respect between enemies, and he weaponizes it for Agamemnon's trade routes. He turns a peace offering into a massacre, and he knows exactly what he's done, which is why he's terrified to go home. Not because the sea is dangerous, because he knows what he set loose is dangerous. And because stories travel faster than ships, the tales of Odysseus ring true and go viral throughout the land. A man, a thought, a trick. And somewhere out there, a man is listening, and it's Antinous. Which brings us to the 7 connections, and the first of the 7 is that Antinous and Odysseus both misuse the law of hospitality. You see this often in Odysseus' story, but one of the main parts where he does this is when he goes into the Cyclops cave. He sees the cheese, he tries some of it like it's his own, and he asks his men to stoke the fire and welcome their host. And he does it in a sense of, this is my right. And he's using Zeus's law for his own gain. In the same way, the suitors and Antinous are doing this. They're entering Odysseus' home, and they're using Zeus's law of hospitality to win favor and curry favor over the queen, and also just to have some good food and drink. The second similarity between Antinous and Odysseus is they both use another god for their own gain. They use Athena. Now, Odysseus in the Trojan horse is a fake sacrifice to the goddess Athena, and that's what helps them destroy the Trojan Empire. Now, what's less obvious is when Antinous uses Athena for his own gain. And it's actually illustrated in the moment in that scene where Tamilocus is attacking one of the suitors because the suitor was messing with his dog. And then the suitor shoves him to the ground, and he looks at everybody and says, "Did you see he attacked first? I could kill him right now." And that law that the Greeks live by is called lawful homicide, which, if you look in Greek mythology, is created by Athena herself. As he sees Tamilocus getting angrier and angrier when they treat the beggar who's Odysseus at that moment, Antinous tries to capitalize on that and tries to goad Tamilocus into attacking so that he could have the right to attack him. So again, he's trying to use Athena's law for his own gain, not just to defend himself. And the third point well connects with their abuse of the gods and their law, and it's that both of them don't really truly believe in the gods themselves. Whenever Penelope gives Odysseus Athena, the statue for him to carry, at first Odysseus refuses and says, "That's not my style." And then Penelope actually gives him utility and a reason, logical reason to use that Athena statue. Christopher Nolan is trying to say that Odysseus himself, he understands the law of the gods and partly believes in who they are, but he's a man that believes that he shapes his own destiny at the beginning of the film. And in the same way, Antinous is making fun of Zeus's law throughout the film, especially when he's goading and pushing Odysseus's beggar persona. This next point is the point that helps you see how Christopher Nolan is retelling a story within a story. And it's that Antinous and Odysseus both get taught a lesson by Zeus himself. Let me explain. You know that scene when Odysseus is with Calypso? He figures out that he has a wife and a son and he has a home. And the only way to get back is not by using his intellect, but by submitting himself to Zeus and surrendering. And he goes on that raft, surrenders, and gets washed up on home. And so everything that Odysseus is known for and he knows himself for, he has to be stripped away of. And there's that classic baptism, death and rebirth through water. Ancient symbolism that happens whenever Odysseus goes on the raft and gets to be home. And he becomes essentially a different person. He lets go of what makes him him.
You can still save them.
You're a man who needs to control his fate.
So that's Odysseus's big lesson. Now, the cool thing is Odysseus then becomes godlike and becomes like Zeus, who then teaches Antinous the lesson is that he has to surrender to the gods. And the suitors, there are other suitors who actually learn that lesson. To illustrate this further and this epic moment that Christopher Nolan created, it's the one we all like in the third act when Odysseus latches the bow. Thunder and lightning start striking in the background as Odysseus is shooting his arrows, shooting lightning. Another scene that backs this up is when Antinous is making fun of Odysseus as a beggar, and he says, "Are you a god? Are you Zeus himself?" And Odysseus rises up and opens up his back. Christopher Nolan zooms in on Odysseus's back, and that's almost like Christopher Nolan saying, yes, he is. And then throughout the film, you see the fact that Zeus's law says that treat the beggar and give hospitality to the beggar because he might be Zeus himself. So Christopher Nolan turns the table, makes Odysseus Zeus, and deals the damage to Antinous, teaches Antinous a lesson through Odysseus. The fifth connection is that they use Sinon's life as a lie. Obviously, Odysseus uses Sinon to lie to the Trojans that this horse is a sacrifice to the gods. And in the same way, Antinous lies to Sinon and says, "You go to war, we'll take care of your family." And before Odysseus becomes godlike, he gets served the draft stick from Sinon. And as Odysseus becomes godlike, he serves the same draft stick to Antinous. Number 6 is that all of their plans fail throughout the film. So you see Odysseus and his crew totally get their heads turned over and all of their plans fail. In the same way, you see Antinous, even though he's using his intellect and trying to either kill Tamilicus or win over Penelope, none of it works throughout the film. And their conniving, clever intellect turns against them. And number 7 is almost a rehash, and it's that both Antinous and Odysseus stop existing. Odysseus goes through a death and rebirth and becomes somebody else entirely. And he's really not the king of Ithaca at the end of the film. Antinous ceases to exist because he doesn't learn the lesson that Odysseus learns eventually. So those are the 7 connections, and I hope that enlightened you to how deliberate Christopher Nolan is in his filmmaking. There's going to be more analyses of this film and others, so stay tuned for more, and I hope you enjoyed it.